The explosion of the first Death Star was a turning point in the Galactic Civil War, yet we don't have a lot of information regarding what the Imperials thought of it. Today, I'm delving into the Imperial perspective on the Battle of Yavin and the subsequent explosion of the Death Star. The Death Star had many proponents, including officers like Grand Moff Tarkin and Admiral Motti. However, some preferred smaller scale projects like the TIE Defender project. A rift seemed to exist between the officers for the Tarkin Doctrine, which sought to use fear to prevent the spread of the Rebel Alliance, and the more pragmatic approach of officers like Grand Admiral Thrawn. Troopers and pilots, however, were growing more and more weary of the recent Imperial losses, especially after the Battle of Scarif and the subsequent strategic victory for the Rebels. After Princess Leia's narrow escape from the Death Star, the Rebels had only one option: attack. Although the Battle of Scarif resulted in heavy casualties, it did expose a weakness in the Empire's ultimate weapon that they failed to notice until the very end. Even though they had the intel and information they needed to carry out the attack was a long shot for the Rebels and would take a miracle to succeed. But guess what? They got just that. The Rebel attack group only consisted of 32 starfighters, mostly Y-wing bombers and X-wing fighters. The Death Star quickly noticed the attack force and manned the turbo lasers aboard the battle station. These turbo lasers, however, weren't entirely equipped to take on agile fighters, as fighters are much more mobile and smaller than the average cruiser or battleship. The Rebels initiated first by attacking several turbo lasers to alleviate some pressure on their fighters and bombers. Almost immediately after the attack, 6 Imperial TIE fighters were dispatched to meet the Rebel force, resulting in multiple casualties on each side. Unlike the Imperials, the Rebels seemed to be more coordinated and organized, which made it an uphill battle for the Imperial fighters. As soon as the Imperial fighters were cleared out of the pathway to the thermal exhaust port, Gold Squadron, a Y-wing squadron, began their attack run. Before they knew it, however, Vader and 2 TIE fighters attacked and took down all 3 bombers. As Red 5 was about to meet the same fate as the rest of his squad, the Millennium Falcon came in and knocked Vader and a TIE fighter away from Red 5. Palpatine was furious. Tarkin was largely blamed for not deploying enough fighters to defend the battle station, but he was dead. The only survivor who Palpatine could punish was Vader. Cassio Tag, being one of the only officers who accurately called out the overestimation of the battle station, was promoted to the rank of Grand General by Palpatine himself. As punishment, Vader was to be put under General Tag, having to follow his orders. With the deaths of hundreds of Imperial officers and most of High Command, the Empire began rapidly promoting young and inexperienced lieutenants to replace those who were killed. Despite the destruction of the Death Star, the Empire still had thousands of ships they could rely on to blockade Yavin 4 with. The Empire, looking to avenge the fallen Death Star, sent in a huge fleet consisting of multiple Star Destroyers, including an Executor class and other large cruisers. The Imperial blockade of Yavin essentially covered the entire sector of space that Yavin was a part of. Despite this, smaller ships were able to leave, while larger ships had to stay in Yavin 4. Leading Rebel commanders such as Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Han Solo were able to slip out, escaping the grasp of the Empire. The blockade lasted 6 months until the Rebels finally managed to break out and evacuate Yavin 4. The Battle of Yavin and the subsequent destruction of the first Death Star was an event that sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy, foreshadowing the eventual Imperial defeat and the rise of the New Republic. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is Entertainment Crew, signing